this?
Disappeared one again. The other pen disappeared. Oh,
Oh, yeah.
can I get that real quick? Just so that we sign in on the sheet. All right. Well, just to reiterate, well, you're new, right?
On this.
On the committee.
Yeah, yeah.
You need a quick intro to the committee. This is your first time for this year.
Sure.
Yeah, just do a quick look out so everyone here knows.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ian Key. I live here. Obviously, and I'm the lead community warfare now. And great to be here.
All right. Yeah. All right.
So are you a member on the board or?
Yeah, he is.
Okay.
Been here 6 years.
It says you're a resident member. You're not on the board now?
I am one.
This probably should be it. So we're not-
That definitely is not accurate. I believe he's on the board. I'm seeing him.
Is Lori still on this? Lorianne?
Andrew?
Is Lorianne still on the committee?
No, she's not. She's one that got. She's not safety.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, it was two new people, two swapped out. I'm not sure if they were swapped out by the chair or by themselves. But yeah, one other person is new.
Is Stanley still on it?
No.
So this top is just off.
Oh, that's the agenda.
Yeah, looks like that's kind of a mix.
Yeah, there's some errors. There's some errors. Stanley's not here anymore. And Lily no longer here. All right. But yeah, so just to recap again, the goal for the meeting today. We got a lot of feedback on DOT's bike lane school safety plan over the past few months. And today, I'm aiming for us to summarize, match it to what the current plan is, and see what parts of their plan work with the feedback, and ideally sort of either strike out parts of it that are unworkable, or make some edits to what parts of the plan should look different. So we can get that to the full board, vote on that today, get it to the full board, and then hopefully get that to DOT so that they can make changes and not implement the current plan that they have made, because there's either some flaws or some things that the community would like to see look different. All right, but before we get into that, we have a presentation. Some folks here from the community have come to present to us a bit, so go through that, and then after that's done, we can launch straight into the bike lane plan adjustments. All right?
Cool.
Everything make sense? Cool. Yeah. Feel free to start whenever you're ready.
My name is Daniel Gopro. I'm here with, I'm learning it. My name is Daniel Gopro.
Your name is David
Daniel Gopro.
Daniel
Gopro.
I'm just saying it out loud so you
Thank you.
Yeah, you need to speak up because
Okay.
it's also.
Oh, do we have any mics?
No mics, but stand by you.
and face that direction.
Yeah, you gotta. So actually, I know that if you stand
Maybe
here,
stand right
so the camera can get you guys.
Sure. So,
Really right around.
The camera's right over there.
That's fine. So you gotta. Alright, I'll move aside.
no worries. So, today we are here on behalf of Transportation Alternatives Youth Committee, a New York City-based organization that's present in all 5 boroughs. Pretty much their mission is to reclaim New York City from cars and find other alternative ways for people to move throughout the city flawlessly and without any taxing work. Today, Today I'm presenting before you guys a city bike campaign that Transportation Alternatives Youth Committee has launched hardly with Vision Zero back in February of 2024. And we have over, I believe, we're approaching 900 petitions now. Our goal is 1,000 supporters. And we are here to hopefully gain your support or gain your nomination as a committee. Sorry, as a community. What the City Bike, for anyone that's not familiar with City Bike, initially I'll just state that City is a rideshare program by bicycles. Just for anyone that does not know it, in New City, where people can pay to rent out bicycles or can even get monthly membership, just use a bicycle and park it at stations or take it home. You really have leeway. Essentially, what we're trying to accomplish is to give all certified NWE students above the age of 16 access to subscribe to City Bike for $5 and get unlimited access to bicycles and unlimited rides. City bikes are very, very expensive. It costs the average person over $220 annually to commute by cities, and most students, over 77% I believe of CUNY students, have reported below $30,000 in income house-wise, and of other public school students in New York City have reported to be on the lower end of tax brackets. Obviously, these are people who cannot afford City Bike memberships or just use a City Bike as anyone else would in the city. I personally, as a student, cannot rely on the MTA when I have an exam first period, or when I have to get somewhere fast, or when I have my dual enrollments late on time in the night. Train delays we're very susceptible to train delays. I think everyone here can relate to having their own trouble with the MTA, and this program would provide students with affordable, reliable commutes throughout the entire city. This program, not specifically this program, but $5 a month monthly memberships have been tested with SNAP recipients and NYCHA recipients and has been proven to be successful. This funding is to be, we believe this funding comes out of a subsidized Lyft funding. Also, NYU students have access to similar discounts with City Bike. Common concerns we have received in the past have been relating to overcrowdedness at stations, and I will address this right now. City Bike has recently launched, City Bike has recently launched programs where people with memberships are able to sort of work as a contractor, where they earn money in getting stations that are overcrowded less crowded by driving the bicycles themselves to less crowded stations. This takes about 5 minutes and they do earn money from it. So we expect that this will extrapolate that this will lessen the amount of crowdedness at City Bike stations. Please direct any questions at us now. We will receive them, and yeah, that will be our presentation. Yes.
What's you said the minimum age is 16, what's the cap?
As of right now, there is no cap. As long as you're an NYC DOE certified student and you're able to prove those with sufficient credentials, you will be eligible to use this.
And I see it's CUNY students as well, so you could be, like any age, as long as you're a CUNY student or a DOE student, you can access the program.
As of right now,
City bikes, do they have insurance, for any accidents that may occur?
I appreciate you for bringing that point up. It's a valid point. In my school and in multiple other schools that we have formed coalition with, there has been prospected city bicycle etiquette education, and we prospect to have in the future, hopefully, bike lockers and further things that will incentivize students to always ride with helmets, always know how to ride safely, and have good bike etiquette and safe bike etiquette when using bicycles to commute.
Question, insurance, in the event, God forbid, there's an accident. So the bike has to have insurance as well as, I'll say.
I don't believe we have established an insurance plan as of yet.
To my knowledge, I'm not entirely sure if there is a current insurance plan set out for the student membership biking specifically. I'm sure there might be for a plan that Lyft has that covers New York City for their biking accidents, but for the student membership, I'm not entirely
I
sure.
only ask this because I've been seeing city bikes where they exempt themselves if there's any accidents with their bikes,
Mhm.
you know?
That's for a city bike for Lyft.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's good to have, to learn how to ride, yes, but also to have insurance in the event anyone has to be covered.
I also will say Lyft, and if you have a membership with Lyft, you are covered by their you are covered by their, what is it?
Liability.
Not liability, but damage to self. So if you are the
To the rider or to the injured
to the
party?
rider or passenger of anyone with a Lyft membership. If you're with Pink, for example, you can use City Bike, you're covered by auto and other vehicles. We can get into that, it's a little wonky. I also have two questions for you.
I have another question. What about non-carrying,
I'm sorry, what did you mean?
non-carrying students? I'm sorry, let me apologize. I'm speaking on behalf of Valerie. She's live streaming, but she's texting me questions to ask. So this is one of her questions.
You should define the term before you ask.
Okay, students.
What are they carrying? What are they not carrying?
What are the
Right.
biggest?
Okay.
Sounds like firearms.
Like a firearm? Like, is it the student card? Is it, yeah.
Like ID carrying?
I just gave her a question mark.
Gotcha.
This is, CUNY, sorry.
Or non-CUNY
Non-CUNY.
students. Okay.
CUNY students.
Autocorrect.
City Bike is mainly predominantly present around the New York City 5-borough area and Hoboken, I believe. So if you're a SUNY student, I believe if that's what she's referring to, a SUNY student on a larger scale,
I use non-CUNY.
Like
Any
Not-
student who's not CUNY, so
Yeah.
any student
could be LIU, NYU, those are.
I, bel-
Well, NYU is covered, he said.
I believe NYC DOE covered is an umbrella that any education falls under it, as long as it's public education, I believe so. But CUNY, we just like to highlight CUNY as they are the main users of bicycles, and city bicycles. You did?
Just to similar to that, like maybe you could highlight and say, schools receiving city funds, because that would be CUNY, SUNYs that are located in the city, and then even like LIU as mentioned. Options were, so $5 is the proposal, irrespective of if you're taking an electric or an electric bike, it's $5.
Yes, the membership should cover both bicycles, unlimited rides.
Is this similar to, is this the same cost structure as was introduced by, oh God, last month in city council, the guy that represents the district north of us? Wrestler.
Oh, like
Wrestler introduced a similar resolution in city council for capping only electric bikes. I don't know if this is a similar, I don't know if his team has looked into the cost differential, if it's, you know, because it is more expensive and continues to become more expensive. But I wonder if there's an opportunity there to talk to council members as well, because there are many of them that seem supportive and signed up to that. My other question was, CUNY has a thing, are you in CUNY?
I'm sorry, I failed to mention this previously in the presentation, I haven't spoken publicly in a while, a little nervous. I am Daniel Gopil, I'm a junior at Midwood High School, located in Brooklyn, right next to Brooklyn College, Midwood High School at Brooklyn College, so I am not in CUNY just yet.
Love it, so you got a Metro card though, right?
I do have an Omni card, correct?
Yeah, so the Omni card rollout for CUNY was administered by the school, so there's been an issue where CUNY is really deciding who is and who is not worthy of receiving an Omni card. And that's led to discussion, and like, there's like a protest at one of the MTA hearings recently about this. I don't think it's wise for CUNY to have to adjudicate whether or not their students are worthy of receiving it, because they have not been proven to be successful with other transportation equity measures, so I've removed that.
I'm sorry, could you reiterate your question, please?
Basically, there's Omni is given CUNY students only if they receive less than a certain threshold.
Yes.
There were a lot of students that were basically very upset that they didn't get a Metro card because they should have. But the adjudicator, they decide who gets a Metro card. They decide if you do or do not meet, and they were in a weird formula where they maybe were counting, like, you know, if they had a job on this or received scholarship, and there was something odd, and students were curious about this. This was also a small thing. So I would say, who is giving the license for Metro cards?
As for-
Or for Fairfax, or the, okay.
In this kind of, yeah.
If you're asking like who controls the jurisdiction as to who can use it, through Lyft and this program, I don't believe CUNY has a say in which students can receive it and which students cannot, as far as I'm aware.
So if I'm a CUNY student making $31,000 a year, do I get one?
Yeah, again, I don't.
No, that's what I'm saying, like, the thing was supposed to be also super
Supposed
easy to
to,
roll
yeah.
out, but it's up to CUNY to decide. And there are a lot of students that felt like they should have received these discounted rates, and they just didn't.
I don't believe this membership is under CUNY jurisdiction as it is City Bike and Lyft.
Okay.
I don't think the
So-
$30,000 was.
So are you working directly with City Bike?
We are not I'm not working with City Bike, no, we are in a coalition with them, but I'm not working directly under City Bike.
But you're promoting City Bike in here,
Sorry.
with your program.
I'm sorry.
Your program is promoting City Bike.
My program is promoting $5 monthly memberships, granting privilege to students to be able to get monthly memberships, unlimited rides for $5 a month through City Bikes and use City Bikes.
I have a question. What is the amount of the actual subsidy that that's going to be using? What is the amount, the dollar amount of the subsidy that you're going to be seeking per membership? I mean, if somebody's paying $5 a month, that's $60 a year. What is the difference between,
The cost structure.
the cost and what the subsidized? You know what that dollar amount is on average?
I'm not sure the specific amount, but as NYCHA and SNAP residents have approved that the cost structure is a working one, and NYU program has also approved and supported that even further. So it should come out of a subsidized funding from Lyft. Eric Adams, before getting indicted, did make a promise that he would help improve City Bikes. He did get indicted.
Like a full Lyft or a full City Bike membership, like a regular one, is like $215 a year. If that's what you're asking.
And also, but are taxpayers going to have to pay the difference,
I
or?
don't believe so. I
No.
believe Lyft.
Another point regarding damage is like, I mean, students are more like, they're less responsible adults in general.
That's what I was trying to say.
And if they damage the bikes, who pay the damage?
If they are under a membership, then as, I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with his name, but if they are under the
Andrew.
membership, as.
Well, that is receiving damage. That is being the victim of something. Like, because Lyft's automobile insurance and vehicle insurance assumes that you are not the driver. For most of the vehicles, because like, you're the passenger of a taxi or some other driver. So it covers damage to you and your person.
But if you're
Yeah, I don't think
irresponsible,
it covers your causing damage.
or if
Yeah.
you're irresponsible with the bike, or you cause damage with the bike, that's, I mean, who covers that?
Nobody.
Or who pays for that? Nobody's got to pay for it.
You pay for it because no one is actually insured to actually cover your damages.
Right, fine, if somebody damages myself, yeah. it's fine.
Exactly.
But I'm saying, out of the bike itself, who's responsible for fixing the bike or
The
replacing
person
it?
who used the bike
The
is
city
really
bank.
responsible for the,
Really?
if you don't return a city bike,
Yeah, you pay for it.
you pay $1,200.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So like, it's on you.
So the students are gonna have to pay this
If they are liable
if they
for-
damage bikes.
If they are liable.
Right.
Are there any other, I know you're coming as a community board, are there other community boards that you've presented to that have already signed
That's
up?
Paco.
Sorry.
I said that is Paco.
Thank you very much. We have presented to countless community boards across multiple boroughs. I have the list, I could pull it up if you'd like, but we have the previously the community board 8, I believe. But yeah, it's a long list. I could, if you'd like me, I could.
I'm just curious,
Yeah,
general
so,
feedback,
yeah.
is it like, oh, we're the first one you're talking to, or you've already, I think it's great that, high school students are reaching out and want better transportation access, that's, in general, I want everyone to have better transportation access, but I'm curious if this has already been suggested to multiple community boards, and if people have, that's a crazy idea, that's a great idea, just like general feedback.
Following our presentation, I will just exact on all the numbers. I could get you the amount of community boards that we have and the amount of community boards that have supported our petition full board.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions?
I mean, is there a thought to tie this to tie qualifying for this to like qualifying to the Fair Fares program that Kate has? Because that's 140% of federal poverty level, which may or may not be $30,000 thing that's cited here.
Would you want to answer?
Am I looking at the wrong thing?
I think the $30,000 is just noting that in general.
Oh yeah,
New
so
York
what's
City's students
so-
make less money, that's all.
So is it?
I believe so.
Okay, that's, I was not, I misunderstood that earlier. I retract earlier comment. I'm hugely in support of this. When I was a student, it was very annoying. It was like 1.5 subway stops or like a 25-minute walk, and a bike was the best.
So, so you're now waiting for, you want our decision, how are we doing this? We're gonna table this, how are we gonna make a decision on this?
We don't know right now.
Okay,
You can put it in new business for next month.
okay.
Yeah.
Thank
Is
you.
there more that we need to look into this about? Is
I
there
think we
more
should
that
discuss
just
it.
vote on?
We should discuss it.
Yes.
Because
Okay,
there is
discuss it.
more,
Okay.
there's more,
Thank
but I
you,
prefer
because we
to
have
do
this
it.
to do now.
Alright, so yeah, we'll add to new business for November.
very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, everybody, for your
Thank
time
you.
today and for accepting us. I will get those numbers.
All right.
Thank you.
Take care. Thank you both.
Thank you both, yes.
From 7:28. Okay. So the next item's gonna be. Let's see. That's not great. Send in the regards.
Are you okay?
I'm gonna just present this on the TV so you can all see it. It's just not anything we're used to. Yeah, it's, and it's for ages. Should have it memorized by now. Yeah. I'm gonna see if we can set up some sort of hold on, that's not right. Okay, so, as I understand it, the top 3 areas of feedback we've got, data feedback on this, since June, were about emergency vehicles not having enough space to pass with some of these bike lanes. The second piece of feedback was that people were concerned about getting hit by bikes when they're leaving their cars. Adults have said governors said that's the second piece. And the third piece is just restricting traffic volume on car lanes through like Brooklyn Avenue. Kingston wouldn't be part of that because Kingston is one lane in the busiest part. So I'll just take us to where that is. So the first part we're gonna look here would probably be Brooklyn, since that's where they're laying down from 2 lanes here down to 1. And another part, this is the section where they're introducing turn bays to try and speed traffic up. Alright, that's this section right here. So the goal that I want us to try to do is, let's go with the easy stuff first. The most sort of egregious things that we might go. Let's just see if we can strike them and get that, if you can send some direct negative feedback to the opening, so that would work. It wouldn't probably be here, since this is maybe semi-workable. Let's go to the lowest part of this that we've heard the most complaints about, which I believe is the thinnest thing. If I can find it, I think I passed it.
Which intersection?
The one I showed you earlier.
Oh, this one's?
Yeah, that
Brooklyn
one.
Ave and Kingston.
If I can find it.
I think it
Yeah,
was-
right here.
I think visuals like this helps too.
Yeah, they do.
Except instead of the,
Well, this, yeah,
this really gives you a better view of what, is discussed.
Remind me, DOT said that what percentage of traffic going down Brooklyn Avenue towards Empire that turns, was it 32% something?
no, 33 is left after they all turn.
Uh-huh.
Just the traffic.
Oh, you're saying 2/3 of the traffic turns off?
Yeah.
Okay.
And turn off of Brooklyn, go to,
Go to Empire.
Empire and Leverage.
East and west.
That's why they wanted that turn bay too, I think, to
Yeah.
allow more people to
Right.
easily.
Yeah. So, what we're gonna talk about next, the first part that I think I want us to look at is this one. This is, so far, we got the most complaints here, we had ambulance guys come and talk about this. And it's the first thing that stuck out to me is very likely unworkable. So let's see if we can take maybe 10, 15 minutes and just knock this and see what we can do about it. So, we can have a quick discussion about this section and see, including visitors, by the way. You have it? Yeah, we only printed like 3, so you can do it. 1. Let me see. Yeah, you can ask colleagues to find the extras. Doesn't want them? Yeah. But yeah, so let's have an open discussion about this and just see if we have any issues that we have with this and what anyone here thinks could probably replace it. Andrew, since you see me, you're.
No, I'm just trying to remember,
Okay. I'll hop in first, I guess. With the Kingston side, I don't think 10 feet's enough for a travel lane, especially not here. It's an area where we see frequent double parking. Okay, yeah. There's frequent double parking here on this part of Kingston. I don't think it's regular because whenever someone double parks on Kingston on this segment, no one can pass. If an ambulance stops to pick somebody up, no one can pass. It'll kind of make this part of the street unusable for long stretches of hours on random days. And it's a one-way, so it's not even as if you can come around the other side. It's essentially on from that part of it. I don't think this should be in the plan at all. I think the lane should stop partly at either East New York or Lefferts, as we had in our previous plan that came from the committee. So I think we should strike this part out.
I agree.
Okay.
I mean, I would go to East New York only because of the school. If there was an issue with the bike lane impeding with the school pickups and drop-offs.
Yeah, there is a bike lane on
There's a
East New
school
York right
up
now.
around, it's between East New York.
Beth Road.
Yeah.
So that's why I would,
So let me be clear.
I'll grab anything north of East New York.
This, the Kingston between Empires. I don't think there's any way for anything to pass if anything double parks here or if an ambulance stops. You can go.
oh, okay, the bike lane part we're scrapping or all of it? Cause I took daylighting and curb rolled out.
No, just the bike lane on Kingston, just this part.
So just the green paint, just the green paint's gonna go, we still want the curb bump outs, we want the signals retimed, we want pedestrian leading intervals here, like, we still want the pedestrians, right?
Well, they didn't propose any,
It's on the, yeah, and they just say where all the bulb outs are.
yeah, they do have a map of that, if I can find it. It's near the end, yeah, it's here. So, yeah, they do have some of the other two spots, which I believe is like one corner.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
we can keep that there, please.
We can keep, I mean, we can get to that in a
I'd
separate.
like to keep the bike lane, but.
Yeah, we'll get to the design in a separate thing, because it's different corners and your 54 spots, that should be in a separate session.
There's one thing mentioned is that why we don't need to have two turn only lanes if you're gonna have lanes further south on Brooklyn Avenue. You know, if an Empire, I mean, from south of Empire Boulevard, you're gonna continue having 2 lanes of Brooklyn Avenue. No point in restricting, you know, before the intersection, restricting it to 1 lane going south.
Do you think people were receptive at the last meeting to the idea of the specific area, the loading zone?
Brooklyn Avenue?
I mean, what are the double parked cars that they're doing business in now?
There's no businesses there.
So one second, let me address Benny's point. Benny, I had a question on not needing trays for Brooklyn below Empire and Lefferts. This is the lower part of Brooklyn beyond Lefferts. It is 1 lane. It's not gonna be,
Right now, it's 1 lane?
no. With all this, it'll be one
Oh,
lane
that's-
and an oversized parking lane, so we could still have extra space.
Thank you.
So you're turning it to 1 lane, but
Yeah,
you're not gonna have a bike lane because it's gonna make it too narrow.
no, that's only for the 1 block segment between Empire and Lefferts. The street gets very wide below Lefferts and it
Gets wider,
gets, yeah. So the turn bays would be coming down here and leading into this. There's 1 travel lane and oversized parking lane. So if anything stops, you go around it.
So you're not gonna narrow the street, you're just gonna turn it from 2 lanes into 1.
Right.
And why?
Speed controls, pedestrian view, that stuff. Generally. That was the movie, and let me see if I should, yeah, so this is what you're proposing, the turn bays on top, these 2 turn bays, yeah. And then below, we have the protected by pavilions below Lefferts, and the 1 lane, but this diagram is a little bit inaccurate, because this parking lane is supposed to be oversized, it's bigger than it looks. They're proposing, it's probably almost the size of 2 instead of 1. Like this. Yeah.
I'd like to make a suggestion for the Kingston part.
Yeah.
Rather than eliminating the bike lane altogether, why don't we, like we were talking about this before the meeting began, why don't we not make it protected, we keep the parking lane here and we just have it here? Just throw some paint on You can still, you know, park if you're an ambulance, or, you know, you need to pass by someone, but at least a lane there to inform drivers, hey, there might be a biker riding along there.
So you're saying an unprotected biker?
Yeah, you know, it's
Conventional?
better than
Just
strapping it
to
all
have-
together, just to
To
have
connect it
awareness.
to Empire where there's a bike.
Yeah, so that way,
Because it makes everyone
everyone's
happy.
Yeah,
Okay.
I like that.
The only
So
problem
it'll be
is
like this.
if people double park in the bike lane, that's
Hey.
all
They
the
do
traffic.
it.
yeah, that's annoying too,
Yeah.
yeah, but at least it's better
Be
than,
the status quo.
I like that.
yes, we're used to that already.
So page 20, Kingston, you're thinking it'd be conventional and architectural, right?
Yes,
Still have that
if,
space open.
yeah, opposed to eliminating it altogether, it could get something there.
Okay.
So we're not moving anything. You okay with that?
But, and then keeping,
The pedestrian protections.
Yeah, pedestrian.
Yeah, very
Now,
important.
that might be, we could learn, it's not gonna be the hardest on road, but remember, they tried to put a bike on Kingston in the business section, that didn't work out. They didn't. This is like keeping up there, so there might be a match for that too.
Mhm.
Considering we only have the parking lane line, the single line, between Eastern Parkway and Empire. I think that would be the safest option if we just continue that down to Lefferts.
You said discontinue it?
If we continue it down to the.
So that way they can walk in.
Yeah,
Oh,
because the necessary community is like very much against the bike lane there, so I don't wanna like, you know,
But here
kind
you're
of
connecting.
taunt it.
If your goal is to, you know, sometimes the marking is, it's just it's like wayfinding. So a cyclist knows, hey, there's a bike lane over here.
That's true, yeah.
So, for one, like, if you're riding on Empire, you may not know that there's a protected lane north or south, you know, on Brooklyn or Kingston. So, marking, yeah, I think the marking is, I think it still has some validity to have marking. But like, it's better than just a line, because a line doesn't tell you for cycling, it tells you where to park your car.
And it's gonna be a line that cars are gonna be parked on. I mean, the
Well,
bike
that's
is
the
gonna
status quo of every bike lane.
also, you know, kind of,
An alternative, instead of, you want a bike lane going north, right? So instead of Kingston, why not New York Avenue? New York Avenue is much less, I mean, it's not as busy as far as commercial activity, and it's already only one lane.
New York's two lanes.
No, it's one lane.
New York's, or it's two-way. I'm sorry.
New York Avenue?
yeah, it's too late up, it's too late up until Lincoln
Sorry,
Road.
I'm talking about from Empire to Eastern Parkway.
But we're not talking about.
Oh, you're not talking about that?
No, that's not on one, that's also not what DOT is presenting at all.
Alright,
Yeah,
we're
I
trying
thought
to-
you were talking about. continuing.
Our funds that in it, but right now we're trying to just kind of customize VOT's piece so that whichever one goes through is acceptable.
I don't know who made the suggestion, and I'm not opposed to, I think the compromise is probably the most logical thing. Just to like generally, whoever said, well, if we narrow it, then it's only one lane, and if someone parks, then how does someone get through? Like, I agree. I mean, when I'm driving, I don't like being stuck behind things, but like, it just strikes me as an odd argument, because there are thousands of one-lane streets in the city, parking on both sides, and we still, like, it's not an anomaly. Any east-west street, Maple, you know, like all.
It's
they
not
all-
more space. There's almost no streets that are actually like choke points. for car
There are
parking.
streets narrower than 36 feet.
Yeah, like I think Lincoln Place points, like cars park on the sidewalk because the
Things
streets are so
all
narrow.
over, there are places that, like, it's just an odd argument to me to say like, well, a car can't get through, like,
The
the
reason why-
problem is double parking.
I think the reason why the argument's
So-
on to you is because people see it as a problem. Like, you're not seeing the narrow street as a problem. Because to most people it is.
Right, but the problem is.
We're not trying to make more. We're not trying to make more of those.
I know, I'm just saying
We're
that
not trying to
like,
make those.
we don't wanna block traffic, but like, we're just overlooking like, hey, there's someone double parking and we're doing no enforcement
But the
against
thing
it.
is, like, we have more cars and spaces and parking spots, so people have to stop somewhere. People are
No,
gonna.
it's a fact.
They're gonna do it.
Yeah.
People
Right.
are-
Yes, Jeff?
I really think it's short-sighted to look at double parking in this narrower lens as what I'm hearing. Right, sure, there are people who double park who are not doing it for a legitimate reason. But the list of legitimate reasons, in my opinion, far outweighs the illegitimate use. And what would those be? Accessory, Uber. What's that service?
UPS.
UPS.
Right.
Yeah,
Amazon.
Instacart.
Yes.
Instacart, Grubhub. There is a long list.
And then there's deliveries.
Deliveries. So for us to sit here and just talk about the double parker who's, he's late. I've seen people double park here and there's a space right here. All right? That's
All the
not
time.
what we should be talking about. That person is you know what. All right? We're not talking about that.
Right.
So for us to ignore all the legitimate reasons why people will double park and they're not going to go away is short-sighted for this committee. So when I look at these diagrams, it brings to mind the conversations that we had about Parkside Avenue, where when they implemented the protected bike lane, there was this big concern about ambulance trying to get to Maimonides, who would be choked between Ocean Avenue and Prospect Park Southwest. And somebody from DOT sat in this very same meeting and said that they realized, made a mistake because the ambulances could go through the bike lane if it's designed differently. So here's an opportunity for us to build in that same solution, right? There's no reason why an ambulance wouldn't be able to use the bike lane if it needed to. I'm looking, if I'm reading this correctly, what's the footage that you have 3-foot buffer, and that's a painted buffer if I'm not mistaken, is that correct? Right, so we have 9 feet, 9 feet width. Am I mistaken that an ambulance can't use that?
Do you wanna share that, the bikes going in and out of
The
that
bikes-
area?
They can move on the
The
sidewalk.
bikes will
The
move.
ambulance will.
Wait, the ambulance is gonna have a siren on, for
Okay.
sure. I'm
So you're
sure.
saying
You're
a
looking at the
wider
fire-
about 10 feet
Yeah,
there?
yeah,
So
even if
narrow
you
the
made
road
it a
further.
4-foot buffer.
Can
you
the fire department fit as well?
These are questions, these are good questions, so this may need to be reconfigured.
Yeah.
But then the
But-
problem is that, what was the problem that,
Ambulance driver last week.
yes.
He said that it didn't
Yeah.
work. I don't
He
remember.
said that he'd never driven in the bike lane for
Uh,
during an emergency.
Maybe because he doesn't want to hit any cars.
That's fair, but I mean, I've been in the bike lane and I've gotten out of it when
Yeah.
I've seen an emergency vehicle or a cop.
I
It's
mean-
really easy.
It's just easy to imagine a biker with his earplugs in.
Yeah,
and-
well-
Well, you'll see the
You're gonna-
ambulance
you're
coming
gonna-
towards
So
you.
is your macro question to say, could we get confirmation, or could we say we support it so long as it's wide enough for emergency vehicles to use it as
I
a-
would
access
say
point?
yes.
Now-
We need to remind them to implement the lessons learned on Parkside, right? Because otherwise, we'll end up with the same product that doesn't really serve us as well as it should.
A question. Are you proposing that it's state protected?
Protected by a painted buffer, yeah.
And
Because
road-
you need that, what we're trying to do is to have a default plan B for vehicles.
Okay.
So if it was protected with infrastructure like a curb, it wouldn't work.
Right, so you're saying not behind parked cars?
No, like with park cars,
With
it would
parked
paint,
cars.
the paint instead of the actual physical
Curb.
cover.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it'll just be like paint slapped on the ground.
But that also doesn't remove the problem of delivery trucks stopping on Kingston
No, it
Avenue
doesn't.
and stopping the flow of
It
traffic
does,
completely.
it does not. It absolutely
The
does
loading
not.
zones would solve that.
Loading
You're
zones.
speaking to a
Well,
large.
This is,
well
it wasn't
administered
at the
loading zones,
meeting,
they're
there was a
not-
lot of people, even a few rabbis, if I'm not mistaken, yes, last meeting,
Mhm.
where, they were refuting that, you know,
Refuting,
refuting the protective bike lane, as, Calista mentioned, you know, to share it so that there's no feuding, and it was really out to be a feud. As Calista suggested, you know, to have the bike lane, you know, marked, but not to move a car over and lose that space.
I don't understand how it could be marked and we don't move the car.
So I believe it's on
What-
Wingate, or it's illustrated somewhere here where, yes. Not Brooklyn, but Kingston.
Number 1, page, no,
That's right.
Right here?
Kingston proposed,
Page 20?
So, I was listening to a few rabbis where they were saying that, you know, to move cars over, they were losing space. And they were speaking on the emergency services, but I hear you by you saying have the space for emergency services. I hear that.
There's one issue that, if you, that means your emergency vehicles are gonna have to exclusively use the bike lane.
Only if there's a other driving lane.
I know, but what if the obstacle's halfway or 3/4 down the block? They're not gonna be able to get into they're not gonna be able to get around. 'cause
You're
it's
gonna have to
parked
reverse
over.
it, I guess.
I know, that's the same.
Yeah.
They go the wrong way on the street
But the,
sometimes.
what about when there's a dump
Yeah,
car?
but you have to reverse
No,
it.
but
Get
I
around.
don't
Like-
think that's where we're going.
There's cars behind you
That's-
now also because everybody follows an
So,
emergency vehicle.
but then we should have like nothing on the
I
street
know.
whatsoever, like we can't, you know, if we exclusively want emergency access, then
We
then
can't
move
have-
every car around, but that's
No,
not
I'm
possible.
saying they need to be
No,
able to
but like,
maneuver around.
alright, but it kind of sounds like we're making, so the minimum lanes for streets with buses on them in the city is 11 feet wide. Right?
Is what?
11 foot width.
Okay.
Like anything that has a bus on it needs to be 11 feet.
The driving lane.
Yeah,
Yeah.
11 feet wide or larger.
Okay.
This one's 10, and I assume that's because B43 turns onto Kingston from Empire, so they took that piece where buses pass on and made it
For now,
for now, right? Yeah.
the Brooklyn bus redesign is still in progress, and we
Which-
haven't heard anything about that for a long time.
Right. It's arguably, I think, short-sighted on their part to do this, considering they might potentially put a
Reintroduce
bus
the
somewhere.
B10, B12, B10
Yeah.
on that punter.
Yeah. That's going east to west. That wouldn't be on Kingston though. Let's
True.
go. Alan's
You're
going
right.
from
You got
Ocean
me.
to
You're right.
Alabama Avenue. Okay.
I just want to comment, I like Jeff's point, and I've actually seen in action, emergency vehicles using bike lanes effectively to get around traffic. I've also seen the flip side of it. I know it happens on 11th Avenue in Manhattan, a lot, especially, when everyone's going to the Holland Tunnel. When you make the bike lane wide enough that the ambulance can easily coast down there, every car uses it then too. And it essentially just becomes another driving lane.
Cars do that on Bedford Avenue right now. I've almost lost my side view mirror. You know, you're sitting in traffic
Right.
and all of a sudden,
Yes, the bike lane.
light flies past you in the bike lane. So I mean, what you're saying is disputing,
Right.
but there are things that we can't control, all right? And I think that the best we can do is to propose a plan that addresses as much of the items that we can control as possible,
Yeah.
you know?
So you just want DOT to ensure better consultation than they did with Parkside
Yeah.
about ambulances,
I think
emergency
that's-
access vehicles being able
That's
to
really
use
good
it.
feedback for I think all the other protected bike lanes in the plan. But I still think the best case for that Kingston between Empire and Left is probably just to make it conventional or make it a parking lane.
Let's have something there. If we're gonna like,
It sounded like
have some
conventional,
lines.
just paint what you did.
Yeah, you did ask for a convention.
yeah.
Class 2.
So I don't know how many of you are familiar with what was done on Sterling Street, which is the block that I live on between Washington and Bedford. And I'm very much involved with that block association, and when they did this, I can't tell you that it's in response to anything we requested. And basically, it's something that you mentioned here where the street, I don't know what the width is, but it's the wide one-way street of Sterling, right? It's approximately maybe 5 feet or more wider than the rest of Sterling Street from Bedford to Avenue. And what they did is they gave us extra wide parking lanes, which feel like on the north side and on the south side of Sterling, you have half a bike lane.
Right, yeah.
And-
Kingston they did that on the west
Yeah.
side.
And I used to be a biker. I can tell you the little bit that I've biked on streets like that, it feels better than, and if we're only talking about one block
Yeah.
of this, that might be the solution,
I
right?
think so.
Right? It's not ideal, but nothing that we're discussing is ideal. Right? I can tell you that people seem to love it.
But what I would
I want to
say.
call that question actually.
Say that again?
I want to call that question. If you didn't have something for which I think work there.
So you're saying just the versus conventional
Yeah.
versus what they presented?
I have one feedback, and you
Right.
bring up a good point. I'm down your block all the time, but your block doesn't have the same level of traffic
Yeah.
that Kingston has. So me, I'm an experienced biker. But someone who's new to biking, they're not gonna be comfortable riding down Kingston without something there, at least to give them some type of security or whatnot, even if it's only mental, right? So that's why I think at least psychologically having a bike lane there will not only be safer for somebody who is not, not as, maybe not as experienced of a biker, but also for drivers to be aware that, hey, there's a biker on this side of me or whatever side, so I need to be a little bit more cautious.
I agree with you, but the community there is right now saying no to all of it. They're saying no,
Compromise.
right? And what they're saying no to is the bike icon. They don't want.
Why
The
is
bike
the bike
icon?
Yeah, they don't want. They
Wait,
specifically
wait,
asked.
Any artifact of a bike is.
Huh?
It's like
On Kingston Avenue.
Can I suggest something,
Go ahead.
please? I suggest that we put, if it doesn't have to be green, can we put an imprint of the bike? You know
That's
what I
what.
mean?
That's what they're.
Imprint.
That's what I'm gonna.
Even in that wide area?
That's,
Not the
If they-
wide area. The above Lefferts Avenue where it gets narrow.
Remember the
well,
reasons?
Huh?
What were the reasons given?
Well, because the business side, like it's such a busy.
It's not business.
The kind of. Well, I mean,
It's all pop, it's all pop.
yeah, if there's
yeah. Well, the reason.
zero businesses.
No, but business. What I mean is the activity, right? It doesn't really matter if there's business there, but if people are double parking there half of the day or more, they're saying that it would be too disturbing to the activity that's there, whether it's cars, pedestrians, to put a bike lane there. It would make things worse for both parties because you have bikers using a troubled bike lane that's too busy and dangerous for them, and you'd have vehicle owners parking in it a lot and or not, and having an issue with how they use their vehicles now.
So we're just gonna leave it dangerous for people who
Well-
do need to bike, cause
well-
even if they're not living on that block, there's people who commute via
Yeah.
bike, north and south.
Right.
If you have to travel through that area, so we're just gonna leave it dangerous.
But
for
the thing
them?
is, in the last plan the committee made, we basically said, because they have a turning off point at East New York, that would make up for it, because they could use, New York Avenue or a different street to go north and not Kingston. And
What street would that go?
East New York Avenue, or.
To go
what's-
north?
No,
East
to
New York
get to a
Lincoln.
bike, we'll take them north, like New York Avenue or something else.
Okay, so then can we just do the wide lane? Can we do that one? Is that okay?
Wide lane.
I mean, the wide.
The wide-
Yeah.
A conventional bike
I
lane.
think just the.
Okay, no,
Conventional,
Yeah.
unprotected, no change to being.
Okay,
Right,
so
can we do that?
we,
Then
That's
we'll-
so ambitious.
No,
We gotta-
what-
The
I'm
only,
asking.
the only thing
Huh?
is,
The rest of
You're
this is
gonna use New York
ambitious.
Avenue.
the rest is ambitious, we're just saying the
Kingston
worst
Avenue,
part of
there's no
it,
point in
can we
messing
not
with
do that?
Okay, so you want it to be
I mean,
touched at all.
if we're going to use New York for a northbound bike lane, right? And that's the DOT's current plan, then why mess around with the launch?
Because it's really wide in South Park. And
Right,
that's
New York
around
is
where the
not.
park is, so they
Okay,
wanna
we
connect
see.
the park to a bike lane. And
Which
it,
part?
when
Okay.
they-
Fine, but if you can go to East New York, or there's a bike lane, you can go to New York Avenue,
Mhm.
so you can use it, you just make two turns and you end up in New York Avenue, which goes north.
Yeah.
You don't have to go further north onto Kingston.
Right, that was the argument behind the last plan, and I think it technically makes sense here too, because it's the same place.
If the point is getting north,
DOT has taken an interest in this under the purview of safety,
Right.
right? So, like, that's the agency silo, like, doing this plan. Your idea is good, and it won't happen for like
Thank
12
you.
years.
guys, I'll look at that.
Take care.
why not?
Because we're not caught DOT's attention except for this.
That's true.
Well, just move the bike lane from Kingston to New York Avenue.
Then they have to do all
A
this.
study all
But-
over
Well, you see the
again.
thing about that, if they move the bike lane
So like,
on southern Kingston to New York Avenue, it essentially takes it away from all the schools trying to make safety.
they're better to modify the half-ass plan than try to get 100% good plan, like extract it out of DOT.
Right, so, I mean, ideally, I'd like us to just vote two, class one, class two versus, sorry, conventional bike lane versus parking. Or I'm not sure if we should do two yes votes on this one, because I'm sure it'll, okay, we'll do this, we'll do two votes on
class
this,
two?
yeah. So, yeah, we'll call the question for the conventional. Do we have any objection to a conventional bike lane on that part of Kingston?
From Lefferts to Empire.
For Lefferts to
Are we just saying Kingston or Kingston and Brooklyn Avenue?
Kingston and Brooklyn, because they're both the same width, and it's the same result.
There would be length, I believe, because it narrows a little bit, but
Yeah,
I guess we're.
yeah.
So
Do you have any objection to that? I do object to it, I think it's gonna be a community
Call the
issue.
question, you object.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna write Callista called.
Huh? No, you can call it. Committee chairs don't
Make a
have,
motion to.
committee chairs don't have those limits, but yeah.
So let me, the conventional way is just the line,
Just the paint.
or the green paint.
The green paint is only if it's
Huh?
protected, but if it's
Okay, but-
conventional, it'll be the same color as the street, it's just gonna be two lines and it'll have a bike.
Yeah, it's like
indicator.
Bedford.
Narrow guy.
Yeah, like Bedford,
Yeah,
like Bedford.
Brooklyn Avenue
Except that it'll
is
be at the curb,
right?
so
Brooklyn
it'll
Avenue.
be
Yes.
separated by
Yes.
parked
That-
cars.
Some of it's a share.
But I mean, it'd be separated
No,
from cars.
yeah, but for this block, there would be no separation.
Right. No
The
separation.
one we're looking at here that says proposed?
Yeah.
So
Well,
they,
we're nixing
yeah, and just having
For that
lines like this, just a bike lane like
Alright.
that.
Oh,
So the park-
so we're
the
not
parking-
using this proposed?
Well, we're trying to suggest,
Oh,
instead of,
oh, actually, it's gonna be just like Bedford.
just
Yes.
Bedford, it's just
so the
paint.
parking will be here
Okay.
and then the
Okay.
paint
Park
will
on top
be
of
there.
it.
Okay, and what is that being called?
A
Convention?
convention.
So actually, the way that they call it, it's a class 2 bike lane. Class 1,
Which
class
is the
2
most
is the
accurate.
conventional.
Oh, okay.
You got too technical.
And class 3
We
is
gotta
the
know the
shadow.
Johnson
Learning
for
new-
this
The shadows, the
It's
shared ones with nothing, the
double
bike,
sided,
2 arrows, no
both directions, so that's where
lines.
there's
Like
a
Brooklyn
unique
Avenue, north of
safety
East Side.
price.
Okay, just the lines.
No, the lines, yeah, the little
The two
arrows.
arrows, the two arrows.
I can show you, I can show everyone, like, if I can find it.
Yeah, it's,
Like,
here, it'll be like this, on Bedford, this is a bike lane that no one is observing.
And then someone's double parked
Right on top
there.
of
Right across from Mega Ave, is that's double park center.
Right.
Mega Evers.
By
Yeah,
by
this is-
Balboa.
So
This is the little bike lane, like, diagram
The arrow,
here.
yeah.
And then
So,
at the
the
other
shared one, this is, it's
Yes.
also called class 3. Conventional
Going
right here,
uphill.
this is like the class 2 version.
Everything
And
hurts.
the protected ones
And
are
it's
the
right
class 1,
there,
the ones that are
only
separate.
where I'm sitting and somebody will
Yeah.
squeeze through, you know.
Alright.
I know
So,
that
They can
wait, so
see
we
Eastern
decided,
Parkway.
Yeah, this is just one of like 3 we gotta.
okay, so that's done. Alright, next.
Alright,
So
so
is that unanimous?
Also,
Or you oppose?
I opposed it.
I oppose it as well.
We got 2.
So what does that mean?
I mean,
I mean, this is Missouri,
I
so
don't
it's
know,
here.
you know, let DOT get its act together and do something right. I'm not, you know, especially if there's an alternative, why, you know, invest if you have to.
I'm of the mindset that, like, I'm glad we're like looking at the details and trying to give them feedback,
Yeah.
but like they came to us in June,
Yes.
right? We were studying this for months before it, like, when they put in that amount of resources, I feel like, I think that they're probably gonna do what they wanna do. And if we have actually very, like, safety-driven constructive feedback, then hopefully we will get that through. Because it's our preference that they're gonna say no to it, because
I hope that's not how it works.
I hope so too.
I hope, but
Yeah, because I mean,
Yeah.
experts make mistakes too.
And remember,
yeah,
we're
that's
just,
true. But
Especially when they
also-
don't live where
we're
they're
just
studying.
advising.
I know.
Yeah, so if we
So
say
if we have
don't
to give
change
advice,
anything
we
and
should-
just leave the wide, they'll
give
be
it-
like, screw it, we're gonna put in the protected
Right,
line
exactly.
anyway.
If we just say don't do anything.
At least we'll
Yeah.
saying, hey, we still want the safety measures, but at least just make this one little change. I think they'll do
Yeah.
that.
It's a
instead of
transition
shooting
to
us
the
down.
real bike lane further south.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yankee,
for
any
the
thought?
meeting-
One second, I'm running Yankee all day.
Not necessarily, I'll let you know if I have any questions.
Okay. Yeah, please.
So therefore, you're leaving it up to the general meeting to decide
Decide what?
what we have our differences in this meeting.
No, I mean,
We have to do
Everything
this.
eventually goes to
Yeah.
general.
yeah.
Right.
Whatever we do, it's gonna have to go to general too.
Right, so I mean, like, where are we?
We're doing-
I voted to have
Yes.
the, what is it called? Class two?
Conventional bike lanes,
Conventional bike
to
lanes.
to not do,
To-
not
do
do a
protected.
protected bike lane
Yeah.
from Empire, on Brooklyn and Kingston Avenue, from Empire to Lefferts, and instead, you make it a conventional class 2 bike lane that is just paint on the ground and does not move parking,
Right, that's
on
what I
the
voted
curb.
for.
Doesn't interfere.
So the goal of tonight is to make a resolution that basically says the
Yeah,
CB conditionally supports DOT's plan, but would strongly encourage, for the name of safety, X, Y, Z.
Well, I mean, the wording will be stronger than that, but yeah.
I would say, if you're gonna go against our wishes anyway.
We're just advisory.
This sounds like something I would write.
Yeah.
But the goal is to have a resolution that says that we had the feelings, Kindle, these are the modifications we've requested.
Yes. I wanna also make a motion to also, approve a parking lane on that same part of Kingston, we support either of those two options.
Oh, so
Wait.
if a conventional class 2 bike lane is not pulled, then we request that they,
Either parking
that they
lane.
do a wide striped parking lane.
And then put in that this is the least desirable
I
option.
know. The only risk of doing saying that, you know.
They're gonna be on me for that. If I,
They're gonna think we're into something like that, when the
Right.
community is.
that's what I'm saying. The community is vehemently against a
Yes.
conventional bike lane on Kingston in that part.
Did anyone who commutes
People
to
for
the
sure.
community come to this meeting?
Huh?
Yeah, they did.
A lot of
People
them
who
came.
did.
Now, funny thing is, a lot of the people who
No, I
didn't
mean
come,
like people who commute through.
a lot of the
like-
folks who
Yeah.
did not come to that meeting, they sent in emails to the community board, all in support.
Really?
Yeah.
All in
Yeah.
support.
And
Yeah.
support
Of what?
Yes. Yes.
All in support of,
Yeah.
DOT plan.
Of what?
Of the
Do you-
existing
of the
DOT
existing
plan.
plan with
The
the
people who came in
protected
person.
Of the
Do you have,
proposed.
do you have numbers?
of the.
We
I'm
got,
curious.
we got 5 or 6.
5 or 6.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's-
that's,
Of the existing plan or the proposed?
The proposed plan from DOT, what we went to
Okay,
discuss.
okay.
Yeah.
That's not that much, 5 or 6.
I mean, I was.
We have 30 people.
it goes from greatly
Yeah,
Right, and
opposed
about
to
half of them were in favor though.
Half
of them are 6.
No, half of the people who
meeting-
came.
Oh, the meeting also.
Yeah,
They were
I-
broadly in
so-
favor.
that meeting
So
was-
like
Opposed
15
is
out of
outnumbered,
30,
actually.
they were
So
on the
this
right.
is a reasonable compromise to
Those
have
people are
class 2.
That meeting, I couldn't attend, but I watched the recording. The meeting was, from what I guess you had told me or someone told me, that meeting was much more supportive to it than I was expecting.
Yeah, you saw
I
it
mean,
too.
I saw it, yeah. People raised some good concerns. There was the ambulance driver,
Mhm.
a bunch of people that were very against it, and then a bunch of people that as soon as they stood up, I was like, this one's gonna say nothing. And they're like, no, I'm a construction worker that bikes in the morning, and I knew it.
Yeah.
And I was like, I never thought of that.
Like
It was
people, and like there were
it
people
was a
here.
pretty balanced.
Yeah, it was very balanced.
Very balanced. So people additionally emailed support. I think that's relevant. But
Mhm.
still, it's always important to keep in mind, we've all given up some time tonight to come. Some people email, but like the community board's 150,000 people, right? Like
Yeah.
this is scratching the surface of what the general feedback is. I think
Right.
look around. Are there people biking? Are there people getting hurt? I think DOT is looking at data.
Mhm.
Are there people driving? It's
You know,
it's
One second,
this
hold
is
on.
what
So
everyone
the
believes.
final analysis, cause it's 8:00, 8:05, I'm trying to this thing down. What did you wanna say, Jeff?
last thing I'm gonna say is the devil's in the detail. You talk about the people who are in support. Another analysis probably should be done, and it's a difficult one, right? Who are those people? How old are they? Right? So I'm going to speak as the 68-year-old guy who has been in an ambulance, and I don't care how old you are. If at some point in your life you're in that ambulance and your life depends on you getting to the hospital, none of this is going to
That's
be a
right.
difficult decision. So to be the responsible people who are looking at the entire community, not just the ones who have a small chance of needing to be in an ambulance, right? So it doesn't matter if you're giving birth, it doesn't matter your child, it doesn't matter if it's you who, whatever. It doesn't matter if it's your house. You know, we have to design a world that accommodates everybody on their worst day as well as their best day, when they're 20 and when they're 60. So that's why I say, like, if you tell me that, oh, there's an overwhelming percentage of people who are in support, who are they? Are they 20? Are
They were
they
younger.
30?
They were younger. They were able to buy.
There you go.
Right, and they, likely many of them also couldn't afford a.
Hey, I was there too.
car.
I was
Yeah,
that age.
Exactly.
Right, which is,
Right all over the city.
We also had the 900 patient survey that were mostly against it.
they were also mostly.
But that was for north of Empire, right?
Yeah, that was for North of Empire.
Jeff, I like what you
And
said.
most of them were drivers.
I think we gotta do something
So-
about getting people out of, like,
So the
Okay,
final
one second. We're gonna have to move a little
analysis-
faster than this because we have 2 more pieces of this.
Yes.
We're gonna have to move faster.
Okay, so there's objections, but the conventional
Yeah.
is.
As
number one.
And I'm also
And I do
moving
like
to
Jeff's idea
support
of a wider.
a parking lane.
And parking.
Do we have any opposed to that?
The parking lane?
The
I'm
parking lane
opposed to
on
the
Cape
parking
City
lane.
instead of a conventional.
I'm opposed.
Okay, one
Wait,
opposed.
what do you mean parking lane?
No, I'm
You
opposed
mean
to that. It's
to
keeping
have a
things the
parking lane
same.
or to remove a parking lane?
Okay, so you know what they did on Kingston above Empire Boulevard where they have that line coming down the left side of the street? I'm proposing that they do that below Empire instead of protected bikeway or the conventional. I think it'll work, and I think the community there would rather have that than the conventional part. And I think it isn't critical since there are places to turn off and still travel on a bike.
I'm opposed.
We're talking about
Okay, no, it-
just painting a line.
Yes, one
That's
line.
it. No
A
change.
single line.
I
Harmless
agree.
line.
Fine.
Okay, agree?
Okay, one opposed.
Paint the line.
Great. Okay, so there's two things that the committee supports. Maybe someone at a general board might even ask us to just get rid of the convention and let's just do the, I don't know. Or vice versa, we'll see. But those two. Solid, that's taken care of. Let
What's
me
next?
Head back to the actual talk. Great. Okay. So about the other concern, which is also I think pretty easy to address, people were concerned about people are being hit when exiting vehicles. I told them about the buffer. That's there for that reason, so the door doesn't hit bikers, or also so that when you walk out of your car, the biker doesn't hit you. But there are some concerns about that. I'm not sure if we should ask for a wider buffer, like 4 feet. But
Is this for the same stretch we were just talking about?
all of them that are protected. So
Oh,
it's gonna be for this stretch, but also, you know, also basically these stretches from Brooklyn straight down.
Is that
Is
16
there
or
is there
This is
cross-
page 18.
Is there a cross section from below
There.
car
Yeah,
or
probably
below
is.
left and 16?
This one's page 16, if I can find it.
Standard bike lane or road?
Below reference.
Wait, so they're gonna put a bike lane on these side streets?
Right.
Oh.
They don't really need
Doesn't
to
apply.
be honest. It's more of like a Sterling Street.
Yeah, oh, okay.
How come? I confronted the guys who were here last meeting, the DOT guys, and I asked them if their stats on, accidents, between pedestrians and bikes, if they differentiate between whether or not it was the bike or the pedestrian that did something stupid, that got themselves, that's why they got hit, or it was the driver's car, and they said no. Which is, I think that's a
They
flaw
said
in the
they
statistics.
they don't differentiate?
Well, it's just a very, no, I mean, they said that it was very hard to assess that. Because like, I mean, if
Yeah,
you
yeah, it's
fill
hard
out,
to
if you
assess it.
police, fill out a police,
I
crash
know.
report, like,
I
you
know,
know.
but their premise is not real, it's not true. They say, oh, we slow down traffic, saves
Page
lives.
18?
Yeah, of course.
Looking at
If
the,
the slower anybody goes,
down
the
Brooklyn
less
Kingston.
likely to get hurt.
Right.
Yes.
That's
So
the
that
point of this.
doesn't, I know, but no, it's saying that it's not fair to penalize drivers if bikers and pedestrians doing things to get themselves hit.
There's also children.
Okay, we're gonna have to send this, guys.
Now we
One more
are
reminder.
So,
Stay on
page
topic.
18.
Page 18 right now?
can I,
Well, not yet, but right.
is this the still topic, the amount of people getting out of cars?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it
This is this one?
Yeah, so this is not gonna include Kingston here because that's back-end parking. So you don't, bikers are not gonna come up on the side of your car and get you. So it's everything else, so Winthrop, Brooklyn, and Rutland. People are concerned about, where is it? They're concerned about, the buffer, I guess, being too small or not existing, and people being hit by bikes on the way out.
And that's an 8-foot bike lane though. That's quite large.
Yeah, and it's also one way, so maybe they could make it 5 feet and add 2 more of the buffer.
I mean, I also just think like 8 feet is, you can swerve out of the way if you're like really close, or you have enough visual like stopping distance because you can see somebody comes.
That's still based on a hoop, though. You're still hoping
No,
that
the
bikers-
door is the
buffer.
striped, like the diagonal stripe. That's the door.
The door would not touch the bike lane in that picture.
That's why that diagonal stripe is there. That's the door swing area.
And I think the Parkside protected bike lane is that way too. It's and that's
Yeah.
even more narrower. So
Yeah, it's
like
only a
if
4 foot
if
bike lane.
The
That's half
park
the
side
width.
is the same width as this, but in 2 directions
Right.
with sewers and stuff.
and never had an issue with someone almost getting hit because
Okay.
the door is right, like he said.
I will say, like on Flatbush Ave, by the entrance to the zoo, people are just walking around. There's ice cream or food
Yes.
in the bike lane, and they're like, "What are we doing?" Because like I think that's more of a mental thing where people don't treat it as a travel lane. Like people are traveling here, and I boop boop boop, I'm on my bike,
Right.
and you're serving ice cube, you're serving food. You wouldn't do that on like a vehicle trip.
No.
So I think a lot of this is like we have to. It'll take a minute, but the mentality will shift.
So is there anything you wanna do to address that concern?
I mean, just make sure it's painted green.
Well, I would like to suggest that if DOT can look at the points of highest pedestrian, traffic, I guess, that may be going through there. I think on Prospect Park West, there's a number of spots where they put the rumble strips. It's a little bit of a, it just slows down the bike a
Like-
mile an hour or something, but it just lets you know, like caution, something may be crossing here. So if it's next to the schools anywhere that they think there's gonna be a lot of, not just general parking, but kids crossing, I would just put that,
Can you pull up a visual so they can see it?
It's like, have you ever driven on the highway and on the side there's that rumble strip if you sort of veer off? It's like a warning.
yeah,
Yeah,
You could do
that
that
would
right
be
before an
useful.
intersection.
I think it's very easy to apply, it goes on top of the green, like bright white. I know when you're biking, you see it, and pedestrians see it too. Right.
Okay, so I would like to propose a stance where you support them expanding the buffer by an extra foot and sacrificing a foot of the bike lane of that 8-foot bike lane. So the bike lane might be 7 feet instead, and with a 4-foot buffer for those who are concerned about little kids running out of the bus and having to face bikes.
And other tactile interventions.
Yes.
Yeah.
Any opposed to that? Opposed, I move to have us.
Well, my question to that would be, isn't it, how's that affected when it becomes a two-way bike lane further down? Because I think 8 feet is plenty for one, but what's the width there? That's
Around the park, it's 9 and 10.
But that's also back end parking on one, and that, the other side has dedicated drop off.
Now, let me check the bike lane map, the manual here. For a 2-way, there's an 8-foot minimum. So, there's no
We got 2
big,
feet to spare.
yeah, we have 2 feet to spare because they're 9 and 10. I can't really zoom here, guys, so bear with me. I wish I could. Let me see what I can do. I can now, there we go. So, we have an 8-foot minimum on this 2-way, right? Plus a 3-foot barrier, a 3-foot buffer. Can we make them both 8 feet instead and just expand the buffers so that kids coming out of buses and cars would have less risk?
About 16 feet wide bike lane?
No, the whole thing is 8, so it's 4.
Right.
So it wouldn't be 16.
Okay, I'll just say it. And then what, you
Yeah,
just, what you
that is
change
narrow
it?
though. Like,
Yeah?
if you bike on park.
It is the minimum.
It's,
It's
yeah,
the bare
it's-
minimum, I guess.
you clip someone's handlebars in the other direction if you're not paying attention.
I haven't biked, so.
And if I know DEP invested a lot in new sewers and like catch basins there, and they are very wiry and lane.
How does that impact biker? Can you tell me?
Because you're biking in a lane that's closest to the curb, and whenever there's a catch basin,
Oh, yeah,
it's
it's kind of.
yeah, you get whoa.
Oh, okay, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
I mean-
or debris or anything.
Why do we-
Use something.
Why do we need two-way bike lanes if you have bike lanes on Kingston and Brooklyn?
Well, the bike lanes around the park on Kingston and Brooklyn, they're trying to make those 2-way around the park. So it'll be like a 2-way loop. And part of the 2-way protected bike lane manual is that it's for places with eco space, which Kingston and Brooklyn both have, adjacent to parks, which Kingston and Brooklyn both are, in the part where they want to put this. So according to the guidelines of Red, it's the right spot to put it.
Yeah, I know, I had an idea once to make Mr. Park 2 ways, and after going around the park on the bike, I was like, no way, they don't have to be. So,
Yeah.
I don't like the idea of 2-way bike lanes, especially if there's an simple alternative. You have, you have a bike lane going the other direction, a block away.
I mean, it's,
And honestly, you have a good point, because a 2-way bike lane that's going around and charging 1-way streets is interesting.
Well, wait. So you go down to Winthrop, and then you can't go right. Like you can't complete the square otherwise.
Right. The squares come in one direction, clockwise.
But if you're on
If you're on Brooklyn coming
Brooklyn,
down, you can't make a left
on
from
like
Winthrop.
Fenimore, you can't get back around to safety
No.
doing something illegal.
Right. It's a little awkward.
It's like
Just
just
have the
super
direction going the other way.
You're good.
Yeah, so if you're coming down Brooklyn, you can't go in Winthrop to
Trying to have, Winthrop is only one way?
Brooklyn.
The bike lane is only one way.
Yeah, they're showing it here, that the directional arrows tell you. So if someone coming down this way,
You end up trapped in the
Easiest.
bottom left corner. You go, uh-oh.
yeah.
wait, how are you trapped in that corner?
Essentially someone
If it's
coming
only
down
one
this way,
direction.
they
Oh, yeah,
can't,
right, you can't get back up.
they can't do anything here, they can't do that.
I think it's also worth noting, like, I just taught my 6-year-old to ride a bike. She's biking to school, but like, you say like, oh, just go another block, like, for a little kid, it's difficult.
I don't know, but we can't.
And but I think
Well,
this,
that's
I
what it
think,
looks like.
but I also
There were
think,
5 and 6-year-olds at that
Right.
park.
I know, it was actually my childhood park. I used to go there when I was 5 and 6.
Like, then get rid of the park.
Yeah, even for a kid, I mean, what, you talking about 2-year-olds or 3-year-olds?
A 6-year-old daughter.
A 6-year-old can cross a block pretty quickly. I mean,
This is 3 blocks.
Yeah.
It's technically,
This is 2 blocks.
it's a big.
Go riding with my
It's
kid and
between
tell me
Telling that's 1 block.
That's 1 avenue.
Yeah, that's a big stretch.
Yeah, this is, you
We
know.
gotta care about the kids.
These are.
Yeah.
We gotta care about the
It's a great
kids.
sport. If there's something you don't like, just say
We're
what
talking
the
about 2
children.
versus
Yeah,
so
I'm
two-way
saying
versus
the
a one-way.
danger of Brooklyn down there is where it's 53 feet wide or 43 feet wide, whatever that says, and I go to Wingate Park with my daughter a lot, and cars are speeding. So the point of this project, forget the biking, it's to narrow the road,
So,
so people.
speed bumps.
But that's easier said than done. We
That
have
doesn't-
people waiting for speed
That
bumps
bumps.
on these side
You
streets for
no,
years.
no, also wait, they
Yes,
can't,
you can.
they can't, DOT has answered that question. They said that they can't put speed bumps because the speed bump is not wide enough for that road. Like on certain wide streets, they don't use speed bumps at all. It didn't make sense to me when I first heard it, because there's raised,
Yeah.
like, can't you just control, I guess not. They told me they could, it's too wide when the speed bump on. So that's out of the question apparently. And I really have never seen a 50-foot wide speed bump, so that's.
Me neither.
Sometimes they put 2 next to each other.
That's why I asked them that too. But there's people game those. They
Yeah.
drive diagonally and they speed anywhere.
I mean, we're talking about a place, there's like the guys working out in the middle of the block roll,
Yeah.
right? There's the park over there.
Muscle Beach.
Yeah, people use it. These are people that don't even have a crosswalk to get to it.
I know.
There's the toddler park for like the 6 and 10-year-olds, and then there's the like park for the north side. It's like we have a 50-foot wide street next to it. Like we need pretty serious interventions here, and there's very little traffic here too. So that's why it's very easy to speed. I think.
And think about seniors, and there's a lot of people going to the hospital for their doctor's appointments. I mean,
Alright.
this would be a win for all ages.
Now,
60 and over, 2 and over, families.
I'm glad we're all on the same page with regards to safety.
Oh, that's-
But I have a question. So regarding the two-way pieces here on Brooklyn and Kingston, right? Is that complexity, you think, a good thing?
I think it's going to get the high school students to use the bike lane more.
Okay. What happens when someone tries to go down Brooklyn past Winthrop?
I mean, it dead ends.
It dead ends wherever they go.
That goes to the hospital.
Right. So are they gonna make that onto Winthrop? Typically kind of narrow, kind of busy as well. Busy in San Brooklyn at that point.
You're saying, wait, they're coming down Brooklyn? Would they
Yeah,
make
if someone comes down here and they want to make a right and go this way.
Yeah, then they would.
That's okay.
I mean, there's not a
It's
bike
gonna
lane
be
there,
tight.
but if you want to get to the train or something, you're gonna go there. I
Okay.
mean, people ride everywhere right now, but there's no directions and it's kind of Wild West. I think a lot of this is just telling people, hey, this is perhaps better than that street.
All right.
That's all.
You're less likely to die here.
Okay. So, regarding people being hit off of, or potentially being hit when exiting vehicles onto, the bike lanes. So you said rumble strips is one thing that it's kind of on the table,
That
right?
sounds good.
So they kind of calm it down and slow a little bit. I'm also do we have any? Let's call that question. Rocco, you proposed it.
Yeah.
For it. Do you have any opposition on that? Any opposed?
Nope.
All right.
Rumble strips?
Rumble strips.
Yep.
Okay. Other option. Well, yeah. Other option I had in mind.
Well, your option was
Yeah.
narrowing.
Was
Or increasing the buffers.
basically yeah. You're
But the bus
Making a
lane goes to the
trade.
bike lane.
trading a foot of bike lane space for a foot of buffer. Do we have any opposed to that here?
Why are we doing
Say that again?
Because people are concerned about people getting hit when they leave a car. Because there's bike passing by you, not a sidewalk.
So you're saying increasing the buffer?
Yeah, and maybe taking a foot away from the bike lane and adding it to the buffer since the bike lane's so wide. Instead of a 9-foot bike lane and a 3-foot buffer, it might be a 8-foot lane and a 4-foot buffer. So you have a bigger, safe zone when you leave a vehicle and you have bikes passing next to you.
This is Kingston's proposed?
Yeah, this is
This
this
is 26, right?
page 26
26.
right now. It's also on page 18, I believe.
But you have a 16-foot train.
It's huge.
Yeah, that's not for cars. This is for people who are parked on the side of the street, like in Brooklyn, on Brooklyn
But I'm
Avenue.
saying, if you have a 16-foot travel lane, why wouldn't we just
No, you're saying take more lane.
yeah, reduce the travel lane?
No,
15
we're
feet
saying, I'm saying reduce the bike lane and give it to the bus between
And
the
I'm
park
saying,
lane.
don't
He's
reduce-
countering.
The
why we
travel
need
lane-
the-
Why reduce the bike lane if you have a 16-foot one-direction travel
The
lane?
DOT's oversight lane is for double parked quick vehicles to
Yeah.
sort
Oh,
of
we're back to
bypass.
that.
There's a lot of
Because
buses
it's drop
that
off.
park there.
Right.
Oh, okay.
So that's what the schools were comfortable.
Oh, and is it also because of the angle in that they need 16?
Yeah,
Well,
and
that seems like
we
a
might
good idea.
actually need to continue this into November because there's more of this that we gotta address, like the ring situation. But we'll see. We'll see. If you can quickly move fast, maybe. But okay. But Jeff, you were suggesting we narrow the
The travel.
travel lane instead?
Yeah.
Mm.
Or,
We'll just say increase the buffer then, either.
Just the buffers, whether however they see fit? Leave it to them? Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. Any opposed to that?
Increase the buffer.
Yeah.
from 3
By-
feet to 4.
Yeah.
Okay, lane driving.
Alright, that works. I'm gonna.
What's next?
note
One
that.
more item and that's it?
Potentially two. The one, well, but the other one, the big one is parking and the daylighting. Because people are pretty annoyed about losing 54 parking spots. But as Paco brought up to me privately, he said our state assembly person recently co-sponsored a bill that would essentially bring daylighting to everywhere in New York City,
Essentially,
Brian
Brian,
Cunningham?
disallowing the city from allowing people to next to crosswalks. Because right now the city allows you to.
The city allows us to break the state law.
Yeah.
that
The
we're
state
prepared
law
to-
says
What-
no
what-
parking 20 feet
Huh?
above.
What is that?
The state law requires that 15 feet from a crosswalk,
Yeah.
no one parks there. The city has a carve out that allows you to do it anyway. Our assembly person recently sponsored a bill in the state assembly to remove that allowance that the city has. So that basically no one will be able to park within 15 feet of any crosswalk.
People away a lot of spots.
Everywhere, not just here.
There's
I
gonna
mean,
be a cry against that.
Huh?
There's gonna be a lot of opposition.
Brian Cunningham
Yeah,
is
yeah.
the one that sponsored?
Yeah, he co-sponsored it.
Separately, there is a city effort to daylight, 100 intersections per year for the next 10 years?
Yeah.
There's 1,000, yeah.
It's technically being attacked from all sides.
So, but like, that's being said, just because they have hit a quota, doesn't necessarily mean that these are the best places, even in our district, put new curb bulb outs.
Right.
And like, I love pedestrian infrastructure, like, love it. But like, it doesn't need to be in every single corner of every single block.
Agreed.
Because they're gonna hit the 100 out, like the 100, like, putting a Prospect Park, there's a lot more pedestrians there.
Mhm.
Yeah. You're
But
sitting
then
in the
there's
museum,
terrace
right?
there.
Remember Brooklyn Museum, bro?
Yeah.
You're
Trying to
asserting
guard.
that they're trying to hit a quota, but, you know, if all of these corners are also next to schools, I think they're trying to make the kids cross safely,
Yes.
which I think that I support.
I do understand that.
I do think that there's some spots that we could reclaim. I know right up in Gay Park, there's a city bike station that takes a couple of
Let's go to it
parking
right now.
spots.
He said
What
Plus
page is
three.
that?
Get
this
plus
is so
five.
the parking part is going to be on page 30. They show you all of them. 54 repurposed. I know talked before in a different meeting about how we can actually gain some spots by having like pedestrian safe zones in crosswalks. They showed an example of that somewhere. Yeah, like I think here's an example of one of them, but I'll try to like go to a better example. There are places where they show it, yeah, where they have a pedestrian like, sort of safe area right here, right?
Right.
And that could essentially help people not have to remove this spot, because this is also a form of daylighting that would allow them to let people park near the and not remove these spots. If we could do that more throughout the plan, we can probably get the spots back. If, for example, here, you might not need this
Right.
if we have this right here, because it shortens the crossing distance regardless. Right. So maybe that could be a provision we support and discard from using either both of these or daylighting the corner when they add.
Ethan,
Yeah.
think you might not need what?
Might not need.
You might not need
Both.
this if we have.
I think it's hard to see.
I'm gonna try to like
Trying to
thicken
draw
the
a
line
strip.
here and make it a bit more easy to see. You might not need this piece of daylighting when you already have this one. You know,
Good
the
idea.
one on the left could probably work because it shortens the crossing distance, but the one on the right, it's so redundant.
Yeah, and it almost creates a bottleneck.
Yeah. But that is the point.
Well,
though.
like,
They're
that's
trying,
the
that's the point. They're trying to make the car. They're trying to force it to make a 90-degree turn. People do those easy turns,
Right.
and when they want you to drive straight
Like
to the
the
lane
left.
and then do the full.
Yeah, but
full
if you're
turn.
making a right over there,
Then you just go like,
Hey, Jeff,
That-
completely- if you're
Yeah,
making
this is a
left
lot
turn,
easier to do.
I was gonna say, if you're making a left, you definitely have to do a 90.
right,
Yeah.
but for the right
But
turn.
if you're making a right,
You can easily
it's a
put someone on the
problem.
corner.
Yeah, it'll be easier. But yeah, so that's one thing. I was going to offer both support, but you know, Barbara's point about the impending potential removal of daylight of crosswalk parking.
But yeah, I think it's, I mean, I support us kind of having like a blanket statement that
Yeah.
we would like to maybe even like do the walkthrough with DOT, look at every single corner and see where we can claim some of those spaces.
Okay.
But broad strokes, like, it sounds like a lot when you're talking about, 20 blocks or so, 10 on either avenue. But it's also like, we're thinking of it without the context of like, well, the sheds that just came on gave us another 20 spots back in the neighborhood. There's been construction at Maple and Brooklyn for like several months. As soon as that's done, that's another 10 spots that's neighborhood. Like, the number is not static, right? It keeps going back and forth. If you renovate your house and you have a dumpster in front, that could sit there for months, parking spot gone, but then it comes back. So like, when we just say like, oh, it can't be this number, that number fluctuates, but I think it's worth us saying we want to
Why can't
lower
we
the
just
number.
say, why can't we just ask DOT to tell us where these spots are?
Well,
I
that's
mean, they're showing us
there.
right. What corners they're on? Page
So
30.
then, and so
Page
then
30.
we should visit that spot and see, if needed or not needed.
did we decide on a date yet for the walk?
Not yet. We're gonna do that very soon. I'll talk to you about that too.
So, I would.
Probably
motion-
today, tomorrow.
I would be happy to make a motion saying that ask DOT to reevaluate the vehicle parking loss.
Yeah.
And work our committee and board to
Alright.
minimize the vehicle spots
Agreed.
taken away.
Do we have a number we'd like to throw out? 30 instead of 54 maybe? If they could ideally bring it down to 5 instead of 54, how about that?
That's like a
Or 54,
50%
that's a-
reduction in what you can walk away comfortably saying DOT
How
is
about
gonna take
40?
50 spots and you are cutting that in half.
Correct.
Okay.
That could probably work.
About
And it wouldn't look like, for that.
About 40.
Do we need any votes?
40.
Do we need any votes? Okay.
Because you also got to think about who's going to vote against this in the full board. Like, I mean, we have the advantage now that we have a worse plan on the table that we can say we're trying to mitigate, but,
My response is as few as possible.
all right, a few, okay.
That's what I'm trying to do.
But that's the thing, they could say that was anything. They could say 44 is as few as possible. Say 50 was as few as possible. They could say they had that in mind before. 54 was in the
So
number.
in their engineering judgment,
I mean, like,
Yeah.
To reevaluate the
They can say
parking
no to
loss.
30. Page 30.
Better to be specific.
it's better be safe, mentally safe,
Right here.
than, this,
Huh?
nothing, I'm just, okay.
So you're saying reevaluate the parking loss?
Yes.
And-
I'd
and
like to
minimize-
move to put out a statement also supporting that they minimize the parking loss.
And work with us
Work with
perhaps
us.
to.
I would say-
Reevaluate each corner or each intersection to see, what we can do, without losing parking spots.
And I would also say that they concentrate them around schools and places of interest. And I really want to throw out the number 30, maybe it's something that's kind of guiding for them. If we just say that, they could be like, okay, yeah, we did that already.
If
As
you're gonna do
many as
that.
possible.
If you're gonna do that, I would say no more.
That's what I'm saying, yeah, no more than.
Don't give them, don't let them
A
use it as a
50% reduction.
ceiling, that they can, give them permission to say,
This is-
okay, we're good.
I think-
to go.
I
No
think
more-
30
no more than 50.
Yeah,
Okay.
I
No
I
more
don't-
than 50.
feel like we're picking an arbitrary, I mean, the set number that they have I would like
More
to
than
reduce it.
50.
Yeah,
No
I would like to
more than
reduce it.
50.
But like, okay,
No
do
more
you know
than
how many
50.
parking spots are on Brooklyn Avenue between Midwood and Maple?
They said 52.
That's 54.
54, no more than 50.
Right, but I'm saying that
That's
has
a
no
10%
context to me, like, do you know there are 0 parking spots on the west side of Brooklyn Avenue, Midwood and Maple, because it's all driveways? So like, I feel like we're just throwing a number out there arbitrarily. I'd
So
say,
we
let's,
shouldn't throw a number out there.
no, I don't wanna be arbitrary about it, like, I'm trusting they have done each of these corners, we can look at every single corner
But
that
it
they've
isn't
done.
arbitrary though. It's absolute though. They told you a number that they're gonna remove.
Right,
And they're trying to at least have half of them back.
Right, but I'm saying they didn't remove them arbitrarily, they're removing them because each one is to make it safer to cross. So like, if I live on Rutland in Brooklyn, then I'm gonna oppose you
No
making
more
it more
than 50
dangerous.
and only for schools. No more
Now
than
the thing
50
about that, right? It
and
doesn't.
only for
Now the thing,
schools.
I don't think every spot around the park needs to have a daylight because first of all, it's a hugely wide street, and right now they don't even have crosswalks in some parts. Right? I think a
But if
crosswalk
you have-
alone and a light
right.
or a stop sign would do a ton.
Right.
Right.
Absolutely.
That'd be great by
Yeah,
itself.
but they can't even
But
put a
when are they gonna
crosswalk in
do
some
it?
of them without removing the parking.
We need
Right now, it's Fenimore and
crosswalks.
Brooklyn, you can.
That's a good point. That's
Wait,
actually a good point.
Let me make a point. Washington Avenue doesn't have a crosswalk, okay? So we should put one there and see how it affects.
We already passed
Yes.
that. We passed that in April.
Let's put on the table, I wanna put it on the
It's been on the table.
I
But
that's
wanna
not in the
put
plan,
it
though.
on the
So we gotta
excuse
be
me,
on topic.
excuse me. I've been living with this condition for too long. I want it back on the table, I wanna see results, to have a crosswalk on Washington Avenue.
Please,
People
if
are
they-
getting hit, wait, hold up, people are getting hit. People are getting hit, we're talking about everything else, but what is happening on Washington Avenue? What is this?
I appreciate
I
What
agree,
is-
Felice's,
I think we need that.
I
Come on.
appreciate
Please.
Felice's passion, but we have voted on that and we all
Excuse
supported
me,
you.
where is it?
Not DOT.
It's been published.
Can I
So-
say something?
What's
It's
what's
on
she?
the website.
It's on the website.
Can I
It's
get it?
there.
I can say to the community, hey, listen, and also give it to Botanical Gardens, listen. And you can give it out to your people when they come and see or visit Botanical Gardens.
Okay.
Give me something,
I
'cause
think-
I'm dealing with nothing.
I think the best course of action there would be we actually talk to DOT and tell them, hey, we voted on this and it passed the full board and everything. Can we get a date when it can be implemented? Alright, because we passed it once. Passing it again isn't gonna do much. If they didn't listen to it once, they're not gonna suddenly wise up and we need to get them in the room. And we can talk about what we've already passed and have the full back end of the board.
Do something.
Yeah. Parking. What do we have so far, Barbara? How you recording?
I made a motion to work with DOT to reevaluate the parking loss, to reevaluate and minimize the parking loss presented. I'm not, my motion does not have a number in there.
Okay.
I'd rather work on each one.
Okay. I'll compromise. I'll support it. I also can I amend it to add concentrating on around schools and places of interest
Concentrate what?
To reduce the
Emphasize-
parking around.
to concentrate the daylighting that would cause the parking loss around schools and places of interest.
You're daylighting at every single corner,
We don't.
we wanna focus on the ones
So
that.
concentrate the daylighting around schools and places of interest.
But I also understand Parker's point as to DOT didn't just slap them on a map. They evaluated where to put them. So
Right.
I'm not gonna assume they didn't take the right care to.
I'm gonna assume, and I'm gonna take a look.
I don't trust them.
Thank you.
That's what I mean, no one-
I'm gonna, with what I'm
basically, no one
dealing with
here-
too, come on,
No
I'm
one-
gonna assume.
Yeah, everyone doesn't trust them, which is why we're working on this because they do make mistakes.
Yeah.
Or just poor decisions.
I would accept the friendly amendment.
Okay. Do you have any opposed to that? Okay. That's good. I
Now
think-
what's left? Just
What
one?
is left? I think honestly, nothing else right now.
Good.
Parking was the big thing.
You wanna-
Great.
you
Wait,
wanna-
wait,
You wanna decide on a date?
Ready to go.
Yeah,
Safety.
I think
Oh,
we
you're not good on
Wait, what's the last thing?
Okay, so at the meeting, people had mentioned street furniture, that is, you know,
Benches.
benches,
Yes.
like racks, you know, boulders or other
Stones, yeah.
obstruction. We could talk also about if it's gonna be concrete, or curb extensions, or just paint. Like at other schools across the city where they do have daylighting, they turn it
Most
into
of these
art
are gonna be
installations. Yes, but like they paint them nice. so that people feel guilty about them because kids like it's a useful
In
tactic.
New York?
Can we, and then can we
No,
have
like
an
Yeah,
amendment?
it's
we can-
common to make
we
it
can-
like artsy instead of just like paint. It's like a
No, I like that, cause like
It's
downtown
like-
Willoughby Street,
yeah,
it's like, I
exactly.
love that.
Representation.
and people don't permit it because they feel guilty.
I believe they did come out, they had that here somewhere.
As
That's
a
probably
as
the
a
beginning.
as a comparanda, not
They
as
had,
what
they
they
had,
would
look, they had it here.
Yeah,
Example
But
of
that
that
doesn't
was
say
right
they're
there.
gonna paint it though.
Right, it doesn't, just an example.
Yes.
So,
That was number 2.
maybe express support for
Second, let me just,
colorful.
quick vote, Papa,
Art and street furniture.
Andrew Reamer.
I-
So how about the costs? How much, what does
We
that do to the budget?
They mill these every like 10 years, a
Which is
huge cost to the taxpayer.
I know, I think
This
that's
is
a
this is
ripoff.
pennies on the dollar.
I know,
Andrew, you
So you're making a motion to add street art and furniture to?
Yes.
Of that, I voted.
Okay,
I
any opposed to
second
that?
Street furniture to, I'm just like, excuse me,
Benches so seniors and people can have to sit down.
Like kids waiting for the
And-
bus.
where?
In the daylighting parts, on the street, I suppose, like on the sidewalks and
On
And
these-
it-
essentially like on
like
these things.
planters,
like where there's planters
boulders.
right
Some
next to the
plants,
street.
some
Where you're
nice
supposed
place
to
to
stand.
sit, so people 60 and over, they're tired, they can sit and rest if they need to.
Kids waiting for the
I'm
bus.
gonna give you a little tip. On Vanderbilt and Underhill, it was a big, big fight pots that's in the street there. Pots. There's such an obstruction. So I really think that's safe.
I think I know what
Talk about
section
the
you're
bike
talking about.
boulevard.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's not,
That's not- that's-
that was in the middle of the street. This is
We're not-
not that.
Yeah,
But
sorry.
do you think
This is to
really
prevent
safe?
somebody from driving in there. and
Well, it's
saying,
supposed to be
"Park
unsafe
in
to drive in that section. You're not supposed to be there.
It's not driving, that's supposed to be for students to congregate.
That's a
Yeah, you're
loading
supposed to be
like, waiting
out of.
for
Oh,
the
for
bus.
students.
For the bus, yeah,
Cool.
for the school bus.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay.
and it's bad enough to have a lot of seating at most of the bus stops around the district. I think
Bus
it would be great to
stops.
have.
Okay. Around the bus stops, yes, I agree.
Okay.
Around the bus stops,
So
yes.
no opposition so far? Okay.
Great, wow.
All right.
I
We are
would
so
also
productive
say
tonight.
that.
Yeah.
Okay, that's it?
Okay.
I think that's what
That's
I
Okay,
said.
yeah, we can.
People my other comments.
Any opposed to the adjournment?
Wait, you had more
What
to
about
All this
the
has more to
adjournment?
say.
The chairperson,
Who's-
the
All right,
chairperson
we're
is
moving to
asking.
adjourn today.
Okay, the chair.
Just wanna ask if 2 things, keep it on the agenda for next.
Sure.
Right, if anybody here is on Nextdoor, on the Nextdoor platform, anybody
I am,
familiar with
actually,
it?
yeah.
So there was something posted about, transportation or, traffic pedestrian issue that they said was brought to the board. And I don't know if it
I read that.
it's across the street from Mega Evers, apparently there's a grading for the sewer that's missing, it's missing part of it, right?
We can take a photo on the way out. Submit it to grade 1.
Yeah, but apparently if you're about to cross, it's an open part of the
Yeah.
sewer.
And it's like jagged.
Right,
Yeah.
and they said that it was, because I was gonna say bring it to
So
CB9's attention, and if there
I
are
see.
comments, it says that has been
That's what I
done
see.
already. So, if that's something that you could check into, if I find it, again, I will forward it to you.
That's
Oh, well, you know, WhatsApp chat, why don't you put it in
Yeah,
there?
you can go ahead and like
Concrete
redirect.
could also
Yeah.
handle it.
I think
Okay.
go directly.
And can we add Lincoln Road?
Right.
That's actually next, but I think it would be a bit packed. We have the presentation.
Oh, wait, I'm done now?